Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this video, I'm going to be doing the Hero Awakening battle for Wiler. So let's begin. So for this specific battle, I have Wiler set up with catapults so that he can launch some extreme range attacks on these enemies. So I'm hoping this will give him the edge he needs to keep fighting. I truly don't know, but we'll see how it goes. So in terms of skills, I don't think he's going to be using any skills at all. He's just going to attack at long range against these enemies. So let's begin. So let's have Wiler attack at 3 range against Bozal. And he'll get hit by Black Hole, but he won't die from that, so that he can launch a second attack on Bozal to finish him off. And that triggers the second enemy to come at me. So here I am just going to hang back, and I think I'm going to... I'm wondering if I can regroup myself. Yes, I can. Perfect. So let's begin attacking Ferrokian. So then I just move up to approach the last opponent. Gizerov. Alright, so at this point, I need to make sure I avoid Gizerov's AoEs while fighting the construct, so I'm just going to move back initially. So continue to pull back. He can move up 3, then attack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe this is how to place myself in. And then I can force the engagement at this point. So let's attack the construct to get rid of it. Gizeroff uses an AoE attack. So I'm going to just push in. Second AoE. And here I am going to have to retreat because I know he's going to summon another construct when he dies, right? Actually, let's see what happens if I attack. I'm kind of curious. If I attack and kill him, do I get the victory? No. But I heal up to full, so that Wiler can easily finish off the construct. So that works too. So, attacking outside of the enemy ranges with catapults is the way to go there. And there's the awakening for Wiler. Now that Wiler's 3C is available with the high stakes skill, I'm now going to try to unlock it. So my Wiler has a Goddess Left Hand, Galaxy Cloak, Tenyo's Headdress, and an Angel's Feather equipped. So let's get started and begin the challenge. So here you get to use the twins, Angelina and Shafiniel, Serena as a tank, and then Wiler as the support character. And you're facing off against a similar party. Not too much else to say. The only thing to decide on is the skills that you should bring on your Wiler. And it is kind of hard to decide, to be honest, but I think what will really help is probably mass attack to buff up everybody's stats. And then you're going to want probably skills to heal up your party. So I think rather than defense support, I'm going to want to bring mass heal, perhaps. And then I'm not even sure if you even want regroup in truth. But last skill is kind of up to you. Could be regroup, could maybe be defense support, could be dispel, you know, tactical retreat might work because it heals up your characters. Regroup would be a single target heal. So I'm just gonna keep it as regroup. And with that, let's just begin. So Serena has 2 revival chances. That is such a useful icon to know as a side note. And I actually do want to trigger an attack from Angelina. So let's place her here and have her Unbreakable Guardian start. And then the other 2 are simply going to spread out a little. Further back, right? Oh crap! Tidal Surge! So I might get hit by Dragon's Breath, depending on what skill she uses. It's okay. I'm going to Mass Attack to start. Let's see if I get hit by Dragon's Breath. Nope. Lightning is chosen, so Angelina takes a good amount of damage. Gales, Tidal Surges, and AoEs. I got hit by that after all. That's okay though. Angelina has charged so far forward that she's an easy kill at this point. Right. So why don't I have Shafino? Just range attack Angelina, like that. And I'm actually going to move back for now to avoid Shafino. And instead, I'm just gonna have Wiler range attack. While I could send my Angelina forward, I don't think it's worth it yet. I'd rather just hold back. Having sanctioned kills off my Wiler, which is actually a good thing, because now my characters heal up before combat for 2 turns. Right, from the Desperate Prayer buff. So, let's have my Serena start by shield bashing the enemy Serena. Let's... Oh, in order for my Shafino to heal, I'm actually going to have her attack, and that doesn't include using an AoE like this. But I'm going to AoE anyways. And that will allow Angelina to Lightning Strike and crush me. So that went as planned. And now I'm going to have Shafino attack Serena, because I need her to heal up now that my Wiler is dead. Let's have my Serena, Unbreakable Guardian. And why don't I Dragon's Breath get back again. Let's strike Serena. Weaken her. So here, the best option is to desiccate and have Angelina. No. Using this Tidal Surge has no point because she's a flyer, so I'm just going to melee attack and take down Serena for the first time and actually kill her. Why didn't she revive? Slightly confused there. Let me take a look. While guarding. Ah, you have to guard to revive. That's how it works. Good to know. Arena attack.
いつでも行けます。
ご指示ください。私が片付けましょう。
Cranial Desiccate.
アンジェリナ、いつでも行けます。
Angelina Melee Strike.
この計略で行ってみよう。
So, Wiler's Desperate Prayer definitely kept me alive and well for this fight. And now I have Wiler's important 3C, high stakes. So now that Wiler's 3C has been unlocked, I'm going to demonstrate the use of Wiler in Apex Arena. And before I do that, I should mention as well that because high stakes only lasts 3 turns, and in addition, his tactical genius can also last another 3 turns if you suicide Wiler, he's not that great for PvE content because he can only maintain his heal effect for a total of 6 turns at most. Right? By comparison, Tieris, if you have her at 6 stars, can permanently provide healing light to every character in your party. So Tieris is the best PvE healer as opposed to Wiler, who, while amazing for PvP, may be kind of crappy for PvE, given that it only lasts 6 turns ultimately of having the heal before battle buff. So with that said, let's jump in to Apex Arena and show some battles that I used Wiler in, where he got me into Langrisser rank, long story short. So today, April 11th, I did a whole bunch of battles here, as you can see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 battles in total. Of those 7, there were actually 4 battles where I used Wiler. Okay. So, I don't know. I guess I'll go through all of them one by one. And here we go. So, this first battle against Ohm was, honestly speaking, I had a massive advantage after the pick ban phase, but it was more me experimenting with Wiler for the first time. So, you know, 0 to ban, Omega ban. I'm going to just skip the pick ban phase, I feel, because I think it's better for me to just demonstrate Wiler, because that's what this video focuses on. So, basically, my opponent ended up with Bernhard, Ledin, Lana, Tieris, and Liana, right? All very low skill, that's why he banned my Omega first. The only one that has high skill is Bernhard. And Bernhard actually has extremely high stats, ridiculous defense, right? And so this Bernhard is clearly a fixed damage dealer with Sword Dance, Rupture, faction buff. And on my side, I have Landius as my tank, along with Illustrial and Zerida. And Wiler, and Liana. So I had a really just ignore guard party. Alright, so first turn, he maneuvers forward, 4 movements, because this Bernhard clearly has Apex Boots, the item that I desperately want. And I'm just kind of hovering out of range initially, especially hovering out of the Sword Dance range. So, oh, one last thing. So for this particular battle, I had Wiler bring the following skills. Because Wiler's skills will constantly change. Okay. This battle, I had him bring High Stakes, Tactical Retreat, and Strengthen. So Strengthen is used on Illustrial, right? Zerida faction buffs himself. Landius faction buffs Wiler and Liana, or so Landius faction buffs himself and Wiler, and then Liana has Gospel, Prayer, and Act Again, so she could theoretically Gospel up herself or Gospel up another character. I plan to use Gospel, I think, on Landius to make him immune to debuffs like cannot be healed effects and so on. So let's continue. But the thing is, with my Ignore Guard attack party, this was a clear battle that should go in my favor. Right? Although my opponent has 2 healers just like me, which could be problematic. So, you see here, I start by using Gospel on my Landius right from turn 1. And my opponent keeps his healers as far back as possible, while I start moving Landius forward aggressively because I plan to attack. So I want my tank to be able to guard my characters who are attacking far in front. Celestial, ignore guard attack, does some damage to Bernhard and retreats back.
人思考そしてこれが
And
私
I
の信じ
choose
る
to
心
act
です
again, Celestial. Right. With 3 ignore guard attacks, I figured I can just hammer away at him without any issue. And the fixed damage kinda hurts. But actually, because he moved Bernhard forward, it opened up his Liana for a Shadow Raid. So, Shadow Raid, fixed damage beforehand by a backstab, Liana dies, and I retreat back into Landius' guard range. Meanwhile, Celestial does a second attack on Bernhard, although Healing Light is really keeping him healthy.
まだ終わらないよ
In the meantime, he just starts maneuvering his other characters forward, and I take this opportunity to use Tactical Retreat to pull me completely out of range. So even though he started moving his Lana forward, because of Wiler's Tactical Retreat, I was able to be completely pull back, and now I'm totally out of Lana's range. So this was the second action that really won me the fight. Because it's now completely 5 versus 4, and I have all the time in the world to get my party set up and configured again. So right there, this battle is already over. It's just mop up at this point. But it just shows 2 uses of Wiler. First, well, tactical retreats, and second, the strengthening for Illustrial to hit harder.
終わらないよ
Haven't even had to use his high stakes yet. Okay. And I think I'm just gonna stop this initial video here because after this point, it's just mopping up. Since there's so many example videos to go through, I thought I would just quickly do this first one. So that was the first battle against Ohm. The second battle then is... I'm going to skip this battle because I once again got to use, I think, Illustrial and Omega. I'm gonna quickly jump in to just double check. But it just shows, if you get to use 2 Ignore Guard heroes, it's kind of ridiculous, right? So, yeah. Once again, Illustrial and Omega. This time I even have Bozal to faction buff up Omega, and I have Juggler as my tank to buff up Illustrial and Tiaris. This was just a perfect party on my side. So let's not go over this battle. Origins of Light, 3 Origins of Light characters, 2 Dark characters, you know, it was just an easy battle overall. 1 in pick ban. The third battle then is the Wiler OP battle. It's the first one of 3. So, I don't know, should I go over the pick ban phase? I feel like I should just skip it and just jump right into the battle. But here, I ended up with double tank, Juggler and Landius. I ended up with Liana and Wiler, and then a damage dealer in Elwyn. And for Elwyn, I chose to have him bring Dragoons, as well as him in his Lancer class, because I know the enemy had Leonhard. Okay, so I felt I needed the Dragoons to crush Leonhard. Although in hindsight, maybe I could have just used the Steel Winged Warriors as well. Regardless, I chose Dragoons. That's what I ran with. The enemy was not able to play a healer. I think he ran the usual 3 healer faction. So I banned the healer first, then banned 2 more healers. You know, that's been my ban strategy consistently recently, and it's working out very well for me. Right? So you can see here, and because the opponent played Claret, I chose to play double tank. So Landius and Juggler with 2 healers and act again, and then Elwyn against an offensive team with Landius. So let's get started. So initially I decided to hang back. Rather spend the time activating all the buffs I need and so on. God of War, activates faction buff. I just do pretty much the same thing, holding back, activating buffs. And I actually didn't activate anything on Juggler. Because I felt like the battle, I didn't know when the battle was going to begin. so I felt it was better to not activate anything.
言うだけ無駄だ
Here I have Tranquility deactivated, right? Because in large part, I also had Juggler bring Triton, Great Dragon Barrier, and Master of Ice, right? So Master of Ice and Triton could both combo. Like, I figured that I could use the Master of Ice to do some AoE damage to the enemies since they had no healers. That was my basic thought. So maneuvering up, you know. This is one of those battles that really made me feel like I desperately need Apex boots for Elwyn. That's a sad. I am very, very reliant on Elwyn activating his Blaze at this time, because without it, it's a real struggle. So battle's about to begin. He teleported Leonhard forward. My characters are relatively in position for combat now. And the opponent also sends Claret charging forward. I purposely moved Landius into range of the Claret. So he gets attacked. He then uses Roar. And Landius kills Claret and dies for the first time. And at the same time, Yusuke activates a few buffs. Right? So Yusuke now has the Mimir's War Axe for extra damage, right? Anger activated for +1 range and +1 mobility. Yeah. So now at this point, I start things off with using Prayer to heal up my Landius. Brought the Royal Cavalry back to full health, and he's at a good amount of health. My enemy now moves Leonhard forward, using the AoE attack. But because of where I placed Juggler, healing up my characters fully wasn't too much of an issue. So Leonhard then chooses to attack Juggler, but since my Juggler is in water, he didn't die. So, in truth, maybe he should have chosen to attack Wiler there, but he decided to play it safe to keep his character alive. And at that point, I used Wiler to activate his high stakes ability for healing before combat, as well as increased stats, right? 15% increased damage, 15% less damage taken. Despite that, Juggler still died. We can play that one more time. Mystery Knight just hits that hard. So Mystery Knight charged up, does 15% additional damage. Even though my Juggler is pretty close to full health, he still died because I guess my Juggler ultimately doesn't have that much magic defense. Okay. So down goes Juggler, but it is 4v4. So I move Landius a little bit back. He moves his Landius forward, and I just decided to shift my Elwyn north to avoid getting hit. Hoping for the Blaze activation, didn't get it again. And in the meantime, I'm just activating. I tried to activate Act again. Completely forgot about Leonhard's Fusion Dark Emperor Sword applying cannot act again for 3 turns. I make that mistake pretty often, I have to say. Much more often than I should. In any case though, Landius now tanks the second attack from the Knight of Mysteries, and the Knight of Mysteries kills himself, or herself, because my Landius was full hit points and the Knight of Mysteries was not at full hit points. So, bonus there. But, what I noticed is, for whatever reason, Landius no longer has the buff from Wiler. But nonetheless, I have Wiler use his regroup skill. So this is his 1-cost skill, but it allows a character to act again if they have no soldiers left. But the most important thing about this skill is it also does heal 5 times int. So that brought, once again, the Royal Cavalry are back to full health, although Landius is damaged. So now, Landius takes a hit from Yusuke, does not die because of the regroup, right? So that, you know, the previous games I brought Strengthen for the 1-point skill, this time I brought Regroup. That skill change was absolutely critical for keeping my Landius alive here. Right? I was able to tank this hit from this Yusuke with 1638 attack, with, you know, Spirit Gun, with the extra damage increase from having characters die. So there we go. So I do what I can, try to just heal up my Landius a tiny bit with Liana, but down goes Landius to an melee attack from the enemy Landius. But since it was damaged, Elwyn's Frontal Assault one-shots the enemy Landius. Once again, Yusuke gets buffed, but the thing is... So this is where it gets a little bit interesting. The thing is, because of Frontal Assault, Elwyn now has 919 defense. Okay, and the opponent actually chose to teleport Leonhard here, which is technically trapped because poison would burn him to death. Okay, I could have trapped this Leonhard, in other words, but I chose the first, but I actually chose not to trap him, I think. First, I attack him, slowing him down. Right. Enemy Yusuke attacks my Elwyn, can't kill him off in one hit. And now, I chose not to trap him, and instead, I chose to hit Yusuke with my Elwyn to heal him up. Okay. With Sword Soul. So, the reason for that was, if I stayed here, he probably could have finished me with Air Slash on my Elwyn, who was heavily damaged. So I knew I couldn't trap this Leonhard, and instead chose to use Sword Soul to maximize the damage I can do and heal up my Elwyn. So, enemy uses Air Slash, and this is where the choice of Dragoons became critical. Air Slash with all infantry did barely any damage to the Dragoons, right? If I had actually brought the flyer soldiers, like the Steel Winged Warriors, I'm confident Elwyn would have died there. But because I brought Dragoons, I took almost no damage from Leonhard's Air Slash. So, the right soldier choice here made a massive difference. And then Leonhard chose to change its targets at this point, choosing to attack my Liana, who didn't die. Shrine Maidens to the rescue, I guess. Was Liana even at full health? She wasn't! But it just shows a basic attack doesn't do that much damage, ultimately. A non-full hit point Liana still survived the attack from a regular strike Leonhard. So, bonus there. I'm actually kind of curious that he chose not to have Leonhard attack my Elwyn, because I think he could have actually killed me, right? Infantry class bonus, and my Dragoons were nearly dead. Maybe though, because ultimately, remember, I still had 919 defense. That might be why he ignored it, because Frontal Assault was up. I think that's why he ignored it, looking at it now. In any case though, so at this point, I have Wiler use Tactical Retreat and pull my characters to safety and heal them up. And my opponent chose to run away his Yusuke to activate a faction buff for a bit. And finally, I choose to have my Liana attack the enemy Leonhard, deals a bit of damage. So the enemy Leonhard now maneuvers forward. I have Wiler attack the enemy Yusuke to finish it off. And then Elwyn, melee attack, finishes off Leonhard. Okay. So that last attack finished off because once again the Dragoons. Okay. So, and of note as well, the catapults on Wiler definitely came into effect there just now, right? Being able to attack the Yusuke that was further away. So it just shows, right selection of skills, absolutely critical. Right selection of soldiers made a huge difference here, right? Elwyn bringing Dragoons definitely made a massive difference in that fight at the end of the day. You know? It was a bit rough with regards to positioning because the cavalry really struggled in water maps, but ultimately it ended up more or less winning me the match. And I should also mention, my Dragoons are actually just level 7. But they were completely usable in this fight. So, there we go. Alright, so after that battle, I'm going to move on then to the third battle. And keep in mind as well, God of War is a Langrisser ranked player too. He has the Season 3 badge. So, yeah, see? He's actually ranked 25th right now on the server. So it just shows that even against top tier players, as long as you select the right soldier, even if they're not maxed out, you can still win a match with non-maxed out soldiers. Okay. So, after God of War, I have the next match is against Asakim. And we will jump into this one. So as usual, my Zerida gets banned. I'm going to skip the battle preparation for all of these in general. Just jump right into the fight. So here, I once again got to run the Illustrial Omega Bozal party. Okay, so the party that I ran in the previous fight, I got to run it again. Although the difference here is, instead of having Juggler as a tank, I have Landius this time around. So Illustrial doesn't really have a faction buff, but on the flip side, that's why I had Wiler bring Strengthen once more instead of Regroup. Okay. On the opponent side, interestingly enough, the opponent has Rachel, Listel, Estelle, Bernhard, and Juggler. So I really actually didn't know what to expect out of my opponent from this party, but I just felt that having 2 Ignore Guard attacks should make things okay for me. One thing I did not realize is Estelle's Enduring Hope actually increases mobility by 1, in addition to all the other stats increases. So it's actually a much better version of Cheer. Much better. Okay, the mobility plus 1 thing is actually more of a nightmare than you would expect. But let's begin. So I maneuver forward initially, right? Getting my characters up in play. And then I moved all my other characters first before moving my faction buffers, so that their faction buff lasts 1 extra turn. Just a little minor note there. So with that done, the enemy now uses Enduring Hope. And I decide to start things off with Illustrial attacking. Also made a bit of a mistake there. In hindsight... Oh no. I had to attack from the mountain because that's the only way I can ignore guard with my characters. So because I can't attack from the path. It has to be grassland tiles, or like mountain tiles or forest tiles. So that's why I moved up all the way up here. And then I can now use Roundabout to retreat back. So I move back the 4 tiles. The enemy then gets to use his Shield Bash attack on my Illustrial. And I just use Tactical Retreat to pull Illustrial to safety. Although she is stunned. The enemy now gets to use Runic Void against my Omega, which is really annoying. And at this point, I was looking at it, I could have had Omega attack the enemy Bernhard, or I could have Omega attack... I had the option here to have Omega attack the enemy Bernhard. Right? But I actually chose not to take it, and instead I actually had Omega attack the enemy Rachel. Frustratingly enough, Rachel managed to survive with 730 hit points. Just 730. So I overestimated just how hard Omega can hit against a full hit point sorceress with damaged Dark Elf snipers. Okay. And then, of course, I take multiple hits up the Arcane Resonance there with my Omega. So then the enemy moves up, Estelle, to finish off my Omega. I've lost one of my damage dealers now. Uh-oh. In response, I have Landius Tranquility up. Right, they move up. Their Juggler. And I make a bit of a mistake here. I Black Hole to finish off the enemy Rachel. But the problem with this Black Hole is the location I hit it from. Because from this tile, I actually put myself into Listelle's range. I should have attacked from here rather than this tile. Fortunately, the enemy chooses to use Reaper's Touch on my Bozal instead of Mindbore. So And since clock's activated on my Bozal, I got to toss out a second black hole and manage to silence a third enemy. Okay. So double black hole, luck based of course, but the black hole random debuffs and Bozal's extra random debuff silence 3 opponents. Just shows how much of a nightmare Bozal is, really. Enemy Estelle does a regular melee attack, doesn't do much. Okay. Not against Royal Cavalry that were at full hit points. So I move my Langrisser up, and in the meantime, my opponent uses Blood Dance on both my characters. So one of the reasons I moved up though is to basically reduce the number of tiles my enemy can attack me from, right? So that way he could not seize, for example, this wall tile while I took it. So now I do have the healing reversal debuffs on my both my characters, and that is why Wiler now activates high stakes. Boom! The healed reversal debuff has been removed, and at this point, they both have Desperate Prayer, which is actually lasting for 2 turns, as opposed to what is mentioned in high stakes, which was supposedly 3 turns. I have a feeling that high stakes actually lasts the same amount of time as Tactical Genius, literally, right? Triggering the hero's talent death effect. Okay, so because my Wiler is only 5 stars, it only lasts 2 turns. So once my Wiler is at 6 stars, it will actually last 3 turns, but right now it's only lasting 2. So that is a big difference, by the way. Now, although the the miracle effect does indeed last 3 turns, as a side note. But I desperately need Wiler at 6 stars as fast as possible. That's why I'm grinding up his shards right now. An extra turn of Desperate Prayer is huge. So, in any case though, since all my characters have Desperate Prayer, I now have Illustrial attack the enemy Estelle and finish her off to start. Enemy chooses to burn me, so I choose to reply by having Bozal put Listel to sleep. Okay. Critical move there, because I knew Listel was going to otherwise use, let's say, Mind Bore on me. And my Bozal, before I did that, I made sure my Bozal had enough hit points to survive the Lava Titan burn of 30% damage. And he does. So he burns me again, but I have my Landius melee attack the enemy burn hard, and actually left him at a mere 469 hit points. Annoying. Yeah. Nearly dead, but not quite. In the meantime, I made a mistake here. I have Celestial attack, and I could not finish off Listel, okay? Because she did not have increased attack. Keep in mind, my Wiler has strengthened. I could have strengthened before this attack. Okay. But I actually thought that I could have had Wiler finish, right? My thought was actually this. First, I thought that Illustrial could indeed one-shot Listel, and then I could have Wiler kill off Bernhard, right? Because Juggler didn't have guard. But Listel survived. And then I foolishly decided to have Wiler attack Listel, which actually got guarded. So there were multiple mistakes there. So as a result, Bernhard gets to sword dance me, kills off my Bozal, kills off my Wiler. But it also reactivates my Desperate Prayer. Although I cannot be healed, and after taking action, hit point reduction effects on me right now. Nonetheless, I'm able to have Illustrial finish off Listel. Okay. And then I have Langrisser, faction buff. Or sorry, yeah, faction buff to guard Illustrial. So, opponent chooses to B-shock me, but Desperate Prayer kicks in. In fact, the enemy juggler kills himself, and then I have my Illustrial finish off the enemy Bernhard. So this battle in particular really showed the power of Wiler in these battles. So another good match, showing Wiler, you know, especially the use of Desperate Prayer, the use of Tactical Retreat, you know, the use of Strengthen even. If I had Strengthened Celestial beforehand, could have definitely killed off that Listel. You know, I got a bit too greedy there, long story short, for trying to get a double kill in one turn. But I still won, so there you have it. You know, made some mistakes, there were things to learn about. Alright, so that was the second, or I guess the third Wiler battle, right? The second demonstration of Wiler in particular though, right? Because there was the demo battle, the test battle, then the first battle, the second battle, and now there will be one last battle to go over where I fought against Tashouu. I'm pretty sure Tashouu is also in the top 100. You know? So in order to for me to get into Langrisser rank, I actually faced a lot of top 100 players, I felt. But finding a player on this list is kind of a hassle. There's no search feature or anything like that. So you literally just have to keep scrolling to see if you see their name. Oh, maybe he isn't there. He might be like me then, you know, kind of just below the top 100, for example. In any case, so let's show that last battle. I'm very much skipping the pick. For this battle, very similar setups, I think. No. My opponent had young Jessica in the party, you know, Sakura, you know, Joshua. It was a very interesting party. A lot of time and space characters, you know. There's young Jessica, and like, I was kind of surprised by this party. So I'm going to skip the pick ban, and the end result, as usual, is I think I just went for healer bans again. Right? I noticed that, and as a result, opponent has no healer, Landius, but he does have. But technically, you can say Zerida's Meteor faction buff, it does provide some healing, right? So Joshua and Zerida do have some healing. There's Elwyn, who I'm pretty sure he planned to use to crush my Landius, and then finally Yusuke. Okay. Oh, and on my side, I brought, once again, Liana and Wiler. I brought Shafaniel because I felt she could AoE attack the enemies from within Landius' guard range, and I had Omega as a single target striker. So because there was no faction buff for Omega, I brought Strengthen on Wiler, along with Tactical Retreat and High Stakes again. Liana has her usual combo of Act Again, Prayer, and Gospel, and you know, Shafaniel here can faction buff up herself and Liana, and then Landius here, well, faction buffs himself, and Wiler also does faction buff up Shafaniel, but whatever. So here we go. So I moved in pretty aggressively at the start. It probably was a mistake in truth. I was almost tempting fate, putting myself very aggressively forward, which meant Elwyn could move up to attack me, especially since this Elwyn has the item that I desperately want, Apex Boots. So, in any case, enemy moves up their Landius, I move up Omega initially, and then provide strength into him. Other than that, Zerida hangs pretty far back and faction buffs Joshua. I have Shafaniel activate her faction buff. And then Elwyn hangs back instead of charging forward. So, and I also decided to use Gospel on Omega. I think the reason for the Gospel was because I was a bit worried about Zerida. Zerida activated mobility +2, so I wanted to make sure my Omega had +20% defense. I think that was the logic behind that maneuver. Yeah. So now, Tranquility activation, right? Tranquility activation. And Yusuke starts preparing for combat, and I had my Shafaniel charge all the way forward to launch Demolish. So because she got +3 mobility from my Tenyo's headdress. So I was trying to start removing buffs on Joshua and Landius. Right? Actually did remove the attack buff of Joshua. As for Landius, I think I removed... I don't even know what I removed on Landius. But in any case, battle continues. Joshua comes up, uses Dark Demise. At this point, I actually had two options here. The first option was to pray her up. The second option was to have Wiler use his tactical retreat. Right? I just chose to pray her up to keep the combat going. And then I had Omega move up and attack Landius from 3 tiles. This surprised me. Zerida one-shotted my Omega. Really big surprise to me. I really didn't expect that. I thought Omega with... Oh, Omega lost his defense increase. That might be why as well. Right? So in any case though, Zerida with her attack and with Shadow Raid was able to one-shot my Omega. Very easy. And that actually, changed the flow of the match. It is now 5v4. So next, Joshua uses Phantom Raid to do another attack on me for fixed damage. I just respawned with Heaven's Sanction here to do damage to these enemies. But Zerida retreats back and heals up massively. Next, I act again my Shafenio. And Landius' turn. And I start with activating high stakes. So, meanwhile, Shafenio uses Demolish and moves up because I was trying to block this Elwyn from attacking me. Okay? Remember, the enemy Elwyn has 4 mobility. But by moving up like that, as long as this Landius is here, he can't attack my characters. So now, I faction buff up. I actually did expose myself to Elwyn at this point. But he didn't attack, and so I was able to have my Landius kill the enemy Landius. And with that kill, though, this Elwyn could still move up to attack me. So now he goes for it. Frontal Assault. Right? And Frontal Assault is unable to kill off a full hit point Landius. Yeah. So Landius, powerful tank, completely absorbs that hit from Elwyn with the Frontal Assault skill. And now I tactically retreat my characters back to me. So that pulled me out of Yusuke's range. And now I move back forward, begin with Liana, using an attack on Elwyn to weaken this Elwyn. Elwyn then uses Sword Soul to hit my Shafenio. And I continue to have Shafenio attack this Elwyn, trying to crush this Elwyn. Although it's used up both its skills. So Joshua, Dark Demise, whatever. Doesn't kill anyone. And now I follow up with Wiler attacking as well. Literally everyone jumping into the fight. Enemy Yusuke finishes off my Shafenio. But now he has, because that was his last turn with Psychic Eruption and so on, he no longer has any buffs. And he also has a damage dealt reduced by 30% effect on him. So, I have my Landius melee attack this Yusuke without buffs, and Landius was able to one-shot him. So, battle continues to be balanced now. So now, Liana, range attack, finishes off this Elwyn. Battle is now in my favor. Joshua comes charging in to attack Liana, but Shrine Maidens basically absorb almost all of that damage, although I get multiple debuffs. And now Landius can finish off this damaged Joshua. I still have 2 healers and Landius against 1 Zerida now. And most importantly, I'm also outside of the Zeroda's attack range right now. So at this point, he gives up. So even though I lost my character first, right? I lost my Omega for basically nothing. Although, because he had no healing, ultimately I was able to basically pull a comeback from that, right? So there you go. And once again, in that battle, tactical retreat became very important for pulling my characters back and out of range of enemy attacks, especially Yusuke and so on. So all of these battles, without having Wiler, I would not have been able to win them, I feel. If it was, let's say, Tierras or someone similar, I probably would have lost right there. But having Wiler allowed me to pull off victory. So thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this video useful to you, of how to unlock Wiler's skill 3C and how he is used in PvP. And on that note, Nitro out.